this is one of my works in progress. Like, I'm making these hats in many different colors, and this shade, I feel like this shade of brown is like really nice, really neutral for winter, fall, and everything. So we will be working from the bottom. We start from the bottom, working up, and then maybe we can finish this one together, and as well as another hat together. So you start off with a slip knot. I'm using a 5mm hook, by the way. And you will then chain the amount, like a number of chains that will fit the circumference of your head. Like, just chain a number of chains that will fit the size of your head. And once you've chained so, you will try and make sure that these chains are a multiple of 3. So like, if you chain a number of chains, let's say you chain like 84 chains, which is the number of chains that I'll be making because those fit my head, you will then try and make sure that these chains are a multiple of 3. So after you're done chaining, you will then, slip stitch into the first chain, but I'm gonna make my chain and come back and show you how you do it. When you're done chaining and connecting your chains, you will then chain 3. This chain 3 is not acting as a double crochet. We're practically going to ignore this chain 3 this entire project, but a chain 3 is necessary to start a row, and then you will then chain one, like yarn over and put 1 double crochet into that chain space. And so now we want to put 1 double crochet into every single chain that we have here. How I make my, like, the first row, basically, this is how it will come out with this method that I'm going to show you. And I think it's like just really secure. It doesn't make it like this is practically like the bottom part of your hat, not too stretchy, is like it keeps it secured basically. So you are going to put your stitches, let me demonstrate. You yarn over and you push your hook through 2 loops of this chain, yarn over, pull through. So what I mean is that you will have this 1 loop hanging over in the back, but you practically have 2 on here. I hope. Let me finish this one and I'll show you again. You yarn over, push your hook through this 1, 2. See this yarn piece and that yarn piece for like the next chain, and then we want this loop to stay hanging over in the bottom. As you can see here, I practically took this 1, 2, and then you have this little loop in the bottom part. You finish off your double crochet. So you will keep doing this into every single stitch, every single chain, I mean, until we have the first row of your hat finished. As you can see, like it's practically like secure. Yeah. You just put 1 double crochet into every single chain space, and I'm going to do that, and I'll see you when we are connecting on this side. And when you're connecting on this side, we are going to slip stitch into the first double crochet. This chain space, you just forget it and leave it, because we just need the chain to start our rows. So yeah, I'll see you here. Once you're done with the first row, we want to move on to the next row. And I'm using my other hats as reference. So we're now going to work on the first dip into your waffle. So we're technically working on the first waffle of the hat. And how you do that is you start off with a chain 3. You start off with a chain 3 for every single row, by the way. After your chain 3, you want to focus on the next stitch, which is the first double crochet. And this double crochet, we wanted to push it forward. So how we do that is you yarn over and you make a double crochet in the back of this stitch right here. So you just push your hook needle through like this and you make a single crochet as normal. So after we push this single crochet to the front, you will then add 2 normal double crochets into the next stitches. This is the next 2 stitches. So I'll add 1 double crochet here and another double crochet into the next stitch. This is how I'm working. I'm putting 2 stitches to make the waffle. So now we want our next stitch to come forward again to create this waffle effect again. So you just yarn over and push your hook through this space and push it out through the next and make a normal double crochet. You are just going to be repeating this process of putting 2 double crochets into the next stitches, two double crochets into the next stitches, and then 1 double crochet push to the front. You move on to the next 2 stitches, next 2 spaces, and then you make a double crochet forward. That's basically what you are going to be doing. 2 double crochets normal into the next 2 stitches, and then the next pushed forward. Continue this process of adding 2 double crochets and then pushing the 3rd double crochet to the front of your project, and keep repeating this process until we reach the end where we are going to slip stitch into the first double crochet. When you're done with your first row, you technically have your first waffle done. And using this hat as reference, you can see it's the first step. So now we want to move on to the 3rd row, and with the 3rd row, it's now making the line that separates these waffle stitches. For row 3, you will start off by chaining 3. After you chain 3, you add a normal double crochet into the first double crochet stitch. Mind you, this stitch is the one that is protruding to the front, and then you have these 2 stitches in the middle. These middle stitches, how you're gonna do is yarn over and you push your hook from here and make sure that you have that 1 stitch showing from the back. And then you just add a normal double crochet. You yarn over, push your hook from the back to the front. Make sure that it's 1 stitch too. It's only 1 stitch, and you make a normal double crochet. After that, you see that this is the 3rd stitch that we have to the front. You make a normal double crochet into the top stitch of it. You don't go from the back or the front or anything, you just make a normal stitch. As you can see that now we have like the dip separating our waffles. Continue repeating this process of yarning over, like just adding a double crochet from the back when it comes to this row, but you're only doing it on the 2 middle stitches that you have between these borders right here. Make sure that you do not add a double crochet into the same stitch. Don't add into the same stitch. Every stitch has to be in its own. You just crochet, add the stitch from the back, and for the 3rd one you add it to the top part. Yeah. You then just have to keep repeating this process until you reach the end and slip stitch into the first double crochet. Once you're done slip stitching, you're going to repeat the same technique that you did in row 2. So you start off with your chain 3 as normal, and what we were doing in row 2 was pushing the first double crochet forward and then just crocheting normally for the 2 stitches in the middle. So you push forward this double crochet, we're pushing it forward again, and then you add your 2 normal double crochets into these 2 stitches right here. Again, you yarn over and push this stitch to the front yet again, so making like your waffle stitch again. Continue by putting 2 normal double crochets and then pushing forward the 3rd stitch, the 3rd double crochet. 2 normal double crochets. Oops, I have a knot. Hold on. You just continue 2 double crochets and you push forward this one, the 3rd one. 1, 2, and then push forward this one. Just continue again with this line, and then for the 5th row we're just basically gonna do what we did for the 3rd row. As you can see on this hat, we have that 1st, 2nd row, the 3rd, and then the 4th. And then for the 5th row, you are just basically repeating what we did on the 3rd row. I believe I'm gonna switch back to working on this project because I'm almost done, and I want to make it as big as this one. And this one is 20 rows long. Like, I'm gonna have to add 20 rows to finish off the hat. These 20 rows will account for 10 waffles. So technically 10 waffles is like, these waffle spaces are gonna be 10 altogether, but overall you need 20 rows for that. So I'm gonna finish off this hat and then show you what you do at the end, because in the end we're just gonna have to sew the top part together and your cap beanie is done. However, you are just basically going to continue the technique of alternating between like these 2 rows. When you put your stitches to the front on when you put your stitches to the front on this row, just know that you're putting your stitches to the back on the next. You were just alternating. You're just switching this process between your rows. Also, a disclaimer for if you choose to use the waffle stitch, this stitch is a yarn eater for sure, so you are definitely gonna need a significant amount of yarn. I'm gonna put on screen how the length I think you need to have for you to finish one cap beanie using this stitch right here. I think you need to use 2 skeins of yarn, but I'll still tell you how long I think you should make it for. So I ended up making 18 rows for this hat, mainly because let me show you. For this hat specifically, I used a smaller size of yarn. It was around 3 to 4 millimeter size, hook size for the yarn, and this size yarn is 4.5 to a 5 millimeter size, and I'm also using a 5 millimeter hook. I did use a 5 millimeter hook on this one, but considering how the yarn considering the yarn size, I had to make 20 rows. I think it looks good with 20 rows, but however on this hat I'm gonna stick to 18 rows because I think it's big enough, already big and spacious enough. Right now I'm just finishing off my row, and then we're gonna cut the yarn and leave the amount of yarn that we need to secure the top part here. And then you slip stitch into the first double crochet. We are going to want to connect the top, like to sew up the top part of your project. I like to turn it inside out. Mind you, this is what it looks like inside out. And I also like to start from the corner. I make this the corner. So what you just have to do is push your needle through every single stitch and connect it to an opposite one. You're just connecting by pulling through, like pushing your needle through opposite stitches and then just connecting like so. You are going, mind you, do not do this too tight. Do not sew, like connect your sides too tightly, but just make sure that it is secure. Also try to avoid skipping any stitches and make sure that you connect through every single stitch. You're gonna do this across the whole entire head, and then I'm gonna show you once it's done and on my head. Here is the final waffle stitch cap beanie hat, and I love it, absolutely love it. So I had to finish this hat off only with 18 rows because the size yarn that I used for this hat is fairly bigger and different than the one that I used on this hat. I was using like a size 3mm hook size yarn. Yeah, so I made 20 rows for this one and I made 18 for this. I did use the same number chains and everything. This one's bigger and more spacious, of course, than this one. This was my first waffle stitch cap beanie, but with the type of yarn that I used, it's like super stretchy, so it came out a bit small. Yeah, and yeah, like the number of stitches I was putting in between for each waffle, it was 4. So I was putting 4 double crochets to make the waffle stitch, and here I was using 2. Same as here, I was putting 2 stitches within these, you know. Yeah, it's perfect for me for fall, be it winter or anything, especially since I also don't have my hair done right now. I can still, you know, step outside looking stylish and feeling cute. I hope that this video was helpful. It inspired you maybe to take on a similar project. If you do, I would love to see how your projects come out. You can recreate it and send me a DM on Instagram. Just, yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about the hat. Would you also do something, like, would you also take on a hat like this? And I'll see you next video. Take care.